let's talk about the tools of the trade. Now, you've made a couple of quick references here to a couple of pieces of bait. But let's go and look. Let's go through Winnebago first. So what did you catch them on there?
So primarily at Winnebago, I cranked.
Okay. Yep.
I cranked 2 different baits. This is a Black Label Ricochet Junior, which is a square bill balsa crankbait that I actually built.
Yep.
I build these in the off season when I have time. It's just it's kind of a hobby gone wrong that's turned into a business. And I also cranked a Jackal Aska, which is a plastic square bill. Okay. And the reason I chose 2 different baits is because I was going through a lot of the same water either behind myself or behind other anglers. And you know, I wanted 2 different baits that had a little different, a different action, a different feel, a different vibration. And I also would crank the Aska more when I was around grass, because it does come through the grass better than what the Black Label does. And I'd crank the Black Label more on the face of rock and on the face of wood, like boat dock pilings and stuff like that. Some of the canals and stuff that I was fishing, I would swim a V&M Pulse swim jig. Just a black and blue swim jig, imagine that. It's a black and blue swim jig, a V&M Pulse, and I had a V&M Wild Crawl Junior on it for a trailer, which is just a little small, compact, soft plastic crawl that I had just threaded up on there.
I'm a little curious about that crankbait color. Like why that color that time of year?
Yeah, and that's a good question. You know, red is a color that we all instantly think of in the spring. One of the first fish that I caught up there in practice, when I unhooked it, had as bright of a red pincher as you ever wanted to see sticking up out of its throat, where it had just eaten a crawfish. And I mean, it was redder than this bait. It was like glowing red. And I said, I'm gonna try cranking just a bright red plug and just see what happens. And I tied it on, and it was like, I went from getting a bite every 30 minutes cranking the bait that I was cranking to getting a bite every 5 minutes on this bait, or this color. I also think that having an oddball bait like this, and color, enabled me to go down stretches that other anglers had done fished and show those fish something that they hadn't seen all week.
Right.
You know, and I think that helps a lot as well.
So you move on to like Butte for the next rounds?
Butte I started the same way. I started off cranking and it was working. Like the first bite I got was like a big one for up there, you know, like almost a 4-pounder. And I thought, man, look at this. And then I caught another one that was a good one, and another one that was a good one, and another one that was a good one. And I really kind of ran out of water is what happened. So then I pulled the trolling motor up and left. And now I'm in search mode. And I'm running, I'm running, I'm running, I'm running, and I'm looking, and I'm running, and I'm looking. And I had run by this big flat, and it had a big spawning ground area back behind it that was a solid grass mat. So right at the end of the second period, I ran over there, and it actually worked out perfect, because when I got there, I had just enough time to make a complete pass down that stretch. And I was fishing shade at that point, so I started flipping. And I was flipping this bait right here, which is a V&M Flat Wild. I really like this bait for flipping into shade. You know, it's a flat beaver style type bait. It's got a lot of dart in the fall. And oftentimes in that shade, those fish are gonna be feeding on bluegill. And this bait, even though it has little crawl appendages, it really represents a bluegill really well on the sink, because it doesn't sink straight. It wants to have a darting action. But I rigged this on a straight shank mustad flipping hook and big line, like 20-pound test high seas fluorocarbon, and like a 5/16 elite tungsten weight. So I got there, the first pass down through there, like the first key looking piece of cover I came to, I pitched in there and my line jumped 2 foot off the water. I set the hook and caught one, and I knew then I had made a good decision, a decision that was going to give me a chance. So at Green Lake, that morning I started way offshore, like out in like 20 foot of water, 20 or 30 foot of water. And the first cast I made out over that area where I sent those fish schooling was with that jerkbait. And when I got it to the boat, there was 2 smallmouth like this long, just sitting there with it. And in that drinking water, you could see them, but they wouldn't bite. They would just follow it. Well, I run that Garmin Live Scope, and I ran my jerkbait in, and I immediately just picked up a drop shot, and I had a Jackal crosstail shad rigged up on it. And I found those fish with my sonar and pitched to them. And when the first one bit it, as I was fighting it in, I could see the other one on my screen with it. So I landed the first one, waited, released the fish, just set my drop shot back on the side of the boat and let it go straight to the bottom, picked up on it, and it's just going, so I catch that one. When I picked that jerkbait up, and I started off with this white one, When I picked that white jerkbait up, it was just unbelievable. It was unmerciful.
Yeah.
We had like 6 minutes to fish in the end of the second period, and I think I caught 5 in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So the third period begins, and it was just as fast as I could wind them in. It seemed like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I dug around in my tackle box. This is the same jerkbait. This is a Jackal Red Range 110. This is the same one, but this is one I had fished at a lake earlier in the year that was really, really, really clear. And Jackal makes this bait in some transparent colors, but I just had, this is a new bait, and I just had a few of these baits. And I really liked the bait, but when I was on that real clear body of water, I didn't have a color that I felt like was adequate for it. So I sat down with my pocket knife and I scratched all the paint off of this bait some 4 or 5 months prior to the day at Green Lake. And I took some stain and put on the back of it, and you see it just creates that real light olive color. And to me, that's just a real good natural shad color. So basically what I had is just a blank. But I had this in my boat, and I thought about it. And I reached in there and got it, and I said, I just wonder, on the first cast with this bait, instead of following it, they'd connect on it.
Really? That's great.
So I went back to catch them, and I caught them and caught them and caught them and caught them. And then the weather came back, it got windy again. They got off of this bait, got back on the white one, and I fished with it for the rest of the day.
So Cliff, let's talk a little bit about how good it felt to be in that moment right there in Neenah, Wisconsin.
That's a pretty good feeling right there.
Yeah.
It really is. I don't know that I have the words to describe what that feels like.
Sorry.
A lot of people have asked me that, and all I can say is that's the feeling that when you have it, you want to have it again.